But do you have any questions specifically about the marketing channel? What can I do to help you? What would you really like to learn more about in that marketing tab? How can I help you all today? If you don't have any questions, what we're going to start with is just going through a quick review of what is available in that marketing tab. So as you're in your IQ office, where we're talking about is on this left-hand side, there's this tab that says marketing with an envelope. And underneath that, I'm actually going to go in and just act as an agent so that you can see some content that's been created real quick. So underneath that tab, there's a lot of things that you can do. And I'm going to just break it into really a couple sections. So there's ordering. Ordering is things like postcards that you want to mail out for just listed, or I have a buyer for your neighborhood, or I'm a new agent and I want to help you. The print marketing and e-marketing section is really where you create your content that you want to share with others, either via print or digitally via email or on your blog. The media section is where you can upload images so that you can access them across the platform. Hey, Ellen and David, let me know if you can hear me. You can answer. There's a poll out there underneath the poll saying, can you hear me? The blog section is where you can actually post your content on your website for everybody to see. So we're going to go through those sections today, just quickly, a little bit about each so you know what to do. The nice thing is once you know how to create content in one section, all of the wizards work very similarly. I do want to make sure that if you have any questions at any time during the webinar, you feel comfortable asking them, just go ahead and type them in that question box and we'll make sure they get answered. So starting at the top here underneath My Orders, you're going to click here, and when you click there, it takes you to your main orders dashboard. And this is really an overview of all the orders that you have going. You can see what's happening. It will show if they're complete, payment is pending, and anytime you're going to create new content, whether it's a marketing order item or a print or email, you're going to start in the upper right-hand corner with the plus sign. And when you do that, it's going to open up the section for you to start the order. There will always be a category drop-down where you can select what you're looking for. So you could say, hey, I'm looking for a neighborhood postcard and I want to select some of this information. You could say, I want a house value postcard and I want to narrow it down by that. Once you select the content type that you'd like, you can actually just click the select, and then the wizard will walk you through exactly what you need to order. Some things to note about postcards is they do take about 10 to 14 business days to order. So you do need to allow yourself a little bit of lead time to make sure they're getting to the neighborhood that you want. So if you're hosting an open house and you want to send out a postcard to the closest 150 homes, you need to do that a couple weeks before your postcard so that you are up to date and that the people are getting it. As you're in the postcard section, you can actually, anytime you see this little edit pencil on anything in IQ, it means that that section is a portion that you can edit. So you can edit a lot of information within that postcard, saying, hey, I don't want, maybe you have a different picture you want to use. Maybe you want a different photo behind the actual text. So you could go in and you could say, hey, I want to add information and I want to choose this listing that's active in their neighborhood and choose that as my background. I think that's a really great tactic, especially if you're targeting a neighborhood, because people will recognize the house and say, oh, what's my home worth? Well, that house is just 3 doors down and they're listing, so maybe I do want to know what my house is worth. As you scroll down, once you make all your changes, you're going to click this next button in the lower right-hand corner, and that's going to take you to the order review page. This is where you put in all the information, and I'm in a demo site, so I apologize that you see that error screen. But that's where you're going to put in all the details about what you're ordering. You can either select contact types, upload a contact list, or a targeted area. You do need to know there's a minimum order of 100. Again, orders take 10 to 14 days to mail out, and all of your information you're going to find here on that home screen. If you want to have them mailed to your office so that they come from your post office and are postmarked with your area code, you can also have them delivered to the office. All of this is contained within one section. It's going to be really easy to go ahead and go in and make sure that you have your postcards, you can see them. As long as everything is still pending, you can go in and I can say, hey, I actually want to edit this. So if I needed to go in and edit something that I did and it was still pending, I could do that. Once it's in the processing stage, you can't. How are you all feeling about that order section? Are there any questions on that specifically? I know that was a quick overview, but really the goal of today is that you see an overview of everything in this marketing tab. So Karen, Ellen, David, do you have any questions? Is there anything I can answer? If you're ready to go to the next part, please just type yes in the chat box so that I know. Awesome. Is everybody else ready to go? Karen, Mary, Ellen, David, do you have any questions on this? Know that if you have a question, someone else probably also has a question. Perfect. Awesome. So then this next section that we're going to go through underneath the marketing tab is we're going to go through print marketing and e-marketing all at the same time. And then we're going to go to My Campaigns, which are digital email campaigns. And when you do that, we're going to go in, and if you go to My Saved Content under print or e-marketing, it takes you to the same place, and that is the content dashboard. The reason I like creating content first and then attaching it to campaigns is as your categories in your contacts. So if you have a contact, they might be a first-time home buyer, they might be a relocation contact, and they might also be looking at a certain area or a certain price range. And you can create content and attach it to multiple campaigns. You also then can email it out individually or use it a lot of the time in print flyers. So I like to create the content once, so I'm not having to recreate content over and over and over again. So again, to add new content in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to start with that plus button. And when you do that, it's going to open up a screen that looks really similar to the postcard order screen. You're going to have the opportunity to choose a category, a content type. And if you want to narrow it down to just content that's emailable or just printable, you can do that here. And underneath the content type, you have a couple different options. You can choose from realistic templates, which are templates that we've created for you. But a lot of you also will have company templates that you can choose from. And you can actually go into this category and you can say, okay, I want to see all the categories, and maybe you want to do a new postcard or a property flyer or a letter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with a letter. So I'm going to say seller prospecting letter. And I want to do a neighborhood prospecting letter. So in this, you could name these letters and always give them a category so they're easier to filter through when you're looking. But you might call this, perhaps it is a golf course property project. And I always also like to give things a date so that I know when they were last updated. So again, anytime you hover over a screen and you see it highlight, you can click on it and then you know it's something that you can edit. What's really cool when you're doing any kind of text that has this section at the top that says add to text is you can actually go in and you can add information to the text. So I can choose from this dropdown. And I can say, hey, I actually would like this to be from my agent first name, or I could say from my agent email signature. I click select and it adds to that text. All of this text within this section is something that you can modify. You can see here on my screen, I've got this little red circle at the bottom. I use a add-in to Google called Grammarly that just helps with my spelling and my grammar so that I'm on my A game all the time. But you could edit this to say whatever you want. So if this was a golf course seller prospect letter, you might say something like, believe it or not, spring is on the way and people will be looking for homes with great views such as yours. Have you thought about what your home is worth, or something along those lines? This works very much like a Word document. So you can actually just type in the box. So I can type in the box here and add and change things. I also can hyperlink through. So if you want to insert a link to your website or to another site, you can add images by using these icons up here. But once you make all your changes, you're just going to click that OK button, and then you're going to save it at the top. Again, everything underneath that My Saved Content, whether you're underneath print or e-marketing, will be saved on this dashboard. To find content that you've created, you can actually go into category and you could say contains, and maybe you want to say prospect. Once you click the search button, it will bring up all of the prospecting content that you've created. So that's a little bit about how to create content. Does anyone have any questions on that section? Again, the goal of this is that it's a question and answer session. So please feel free to answer or ask any questions that you might have. There's no such thing as a silly question. If you have no questions and you think that I am the best trainer ever, just type yes in the chat box and we'll go on to the next section. Oh, Rita, you're so kind. So Mary, Karen, David, do you have any questions? Ellen, I'm glad you're smiling because I'm chuckling to myself here too. These are always really fun because sometimes I feel like everybody's getting just so much information in one shot that it's a little bit overwhelming. So I do always appreciate a good smiley face in that chat box as well, to know that you're not overwhelmed, or if you are overwhelmed, you at least feel good about it. So the next part that I want to go through, there's actually two things that I want to go through really quick. The first thing is any content that you're creating, you can go in and you'll see this little, these little arrows in the upper right-hand corner. And when you hover over it, it says source code. What's really cool about that is that's actually the code that's creating the document, and you can copy and paste that into your blog or onto your website. And so once you're starting to create content, you can go in and copy that code and paste it other places, and you can use the content across platforms. So you could create an e-marketing piece that goes out to maybe your sphere of influence about what's happening in the market. Then you could copy the source code, and you could also put that same piece on your blog to reach people on your blog and increase your search engine optimization. Then you could also take that code and you could embed it on maybe a landing page for your web page that you promoted on your Facebook. So if you want to use content across several different features, this is where you go. And to do that, you're just going to click in the box. You're going to hit Control A, Control C, and then you're going to hit cancel and exit out. Because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add it to a blog post. I know you're all anxiously awaiting that. So what you do is you can go down and you'll have this section that is called your blogs. You select the blog that you'd like to post it on, and you're going to just click this new button in the upper right-hand corner. When you do that, you're going to see those same two little arrows in the upper right-hand corner, and then you just hit Control V to paste it, and you push OK. And now I can see that all the formatting for that letter goes into that blog post. I would add an entry title. I would add a featured image if I'd like, and then I would click Save, and it would be live on my blog. This does not just work for the content type of letters. You can actually use the same tip for copying property flyers, for copying holiday cards, for copying your newsletter. And I actually did a webinar yesterday, and we talked a little bit about why would you post it on your blog and email it out to your sphere of influence. And really, when you think about that, your sphere of influence are people that you know, and we all love our spheres, and they all need to hear from us. But your blog is really a place that you can reach people that you don't know, that maybe need to be part of your tribe. And it also helps Google know that you're active in the community and you're having some consistently updated information on your website. Google loves updated websites. So that's the reason that I would use that content both places. The other thing that we talked about that I found really interesting is you can do the same thing on Facebook. You can actually take a Facebook post and you can embed that as well on your blog if you'd like. So that's just a little bit about how to use the source code. That is probably the most overwhelming part of this whole website or webinar. And I want to make sure that y'all understand that. And if you do have any questions or if you want me to do anything again, just say like, holy cow, that was way too fast. Can you please do that again? Or let's see it one more time, or hey, we're good to go and we can move on to the next thing. Ellen, David, Rita, how you doing? Mary, Sherry, and Karen, how are you? I haven't heard from y'all in a bit. So Karen and Sherry, how are you doing? Mary, how are you doing? Good. All right, so because everybody's saying good to go, we're going to keep on rolling. But I do want to make sure that yeah, Rita, you do have to practice. And sometimes it's just really knowing what you don't know. And I think that sometimes that's half the battle. But I do want to keep this to at least just about 30 minutes. I know you're all very busy people, and hopefully the sun is shining wherever you are so that you can get out and call clients and have a half hour to work on your stuff as well. So the next thing I want to just quickly talk about is this My Campaigns area. And when you're creating campaigns, you should be creating campaigns that really speak to a specific client type. So you may have a client type that are all your past sellers. You may have a client type that are your relocation type people. You may have a client type that are your agents in other areas that you want to build referrals for. You should be tagging your contacts so that you can add contact types to your campaigns, and you can create campaigns based on the contact types. So that when I'm creating a flyer for a golf course property, I can send it out to both the price point people, and maybe it's a $250,000 golf course property, which wouldn't that be marvelous for all of us? And you say, hey, I'm going to send this to everyone that's in my $250,000 price point. I'm going to add them to that flyer to that campaign, but I'm also going to add it to all my people who I know love golfing, or my Golf Buddy campaign, because they'll appreciate getting information like that. That's just something to think about. I think a lot of times we create campaigns that are really blanket and try to hit everybody. But I think the more we're in technology land and the more we're working to use technology efficiently, it's important that we're giving content of value to the people who value it. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you how to create a campaign, and then how to add an event to a campaign, and then how to add a contact type. So again, we're on a dashboard with all your campaigns. You're going to start with that plus in the upper right-hand corner. And when you do that, it opens up a wizard that's going to walk you through. The first step in creating a campaign is naming the campaign. For me, it makes sense that if I'm going to be adding contact types to a campaign, that the campaign name mirrors the contact type that's in the campaign. So if this was my golf course property peeps, I would name my campaign Golf Course Property Peeps, because then I know I'm going to put only information that pertains to those people within that campaign. After you name it, the next thing you're going to do is choose your first event. And again, you go to that content type, except for now you have an option of My Content. So you can actually select from all your saved content. And I'm going to say, hey, I actually want this to be my seller prospecting. And I can see here is my golf course prospecting listing. And now it just automatically enters that information in. I'm just editing at the top. Hey, the subject is, so you want to live on a golf course? I choose how I want to send. Do I want to send it on a specific date? Do I want to send it once a month, Do I want to send it on an interval? So when I add people to the campaign, they're getting it on the first day after they added, or the third day after they added, or the 8th day? Do I want to maybe send it on a day of the week or after a certain transaction? For this campaign, I think it makes sense that I want this to be sent out 2 days after I add them to the campaign. And then I'm going to choose a time because everybody hates getting emails at midnight, because we all know that it's just a robot sending out an email, not an actual person. So by selecting a time, it gives the clients the opportunity to think that you actually are really in front of your computer, emailing them at a certain time and reaching out to them. After you make all your changes, you're going to click next. You're going to save the changes only for this event. And then you can add recipients here by clicking the Add Recipients button and selecting your contact type. Or you can say, I just want to finish it and not add recipients now, because I want to show you how you can add recipients after the fact as well. So now I can actually go into that campaign and I can say, I want to add recipients here, or I can go to the Recipients tab at the top and I can add a contact type and I can choose the people who I want to be added to that campaign. And I can say, okay, yep, those are the people I want to be on it. Here it all is. So that is just a quick overview of creating campaigns, some ideas on how to categorize your campaigns and how to add contact types. How do you all feel about that? Good, bad, terrible, holy moly, I didn't know what I was getting into when I signed up for this webinar. Good. Rita feels good. David, how are you doing? Sherry and Karen, how are you all doing? Mary, you haven't had any questions yet. I want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody in the dust. Okay. If there's no questions, we're going to keep on rolling because we've only got a few minutes left in our time frame of 30 minutes. And so I want to make sure that I'm not going over and that you have hopefully blocked out a whole hour and you can jump in for the last 30 minutes of the hour today and really start digging in. So the next section that we're going to talk about underneath that e-marketing is just quickly images. And these images are ones that you can use for any of your marketing that you're doing. And this is really easy. You just go to the plus upload, you add files, and then you choose your image files that you would like to include. So I could actually go in and say, I want to add this file, and then it will be automatically uploaded and I can see that file there. That was probably the easiest part of this webinar, whereas the source code part was probably the hardest part. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the blogs, because I don't think that this feature is really maximized. The capability of this is really maximized, and you can create multiple blogs if you would like. Again, you're going to start with this plus sign in the upper right-hand corner if you want to create a new blog, and anything that's in red you have to edit. So you have to add a blog title. You can say, hey, the admin email, and you can select yourself from that list. If you leave it at none, you will be the admin. But if you have maybe an office admin that's in the system, or you have a team and it's your blog, but your partner is going to manage it, you could add their email in here. And then you choose your notifications. You choose if you want comments allowed. And right here where it says include entries from company blogs, that means if your company is doing a blog, do you want what they're posting to show on your blog as well? And if you're a team, you can actually add people within your company as allowed to post on your blog as well. Once you do all that, you click the save in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll have something like this on your screen. To edit your blog, you open it up. You can change all of this information, or you can go to the entries. And this will give you an opportunity to look at all the entries that you have, add new entries at the top. You can always view your subscribers, or you can go in and you can edit past entries or delete them. A blog is a really great way to, again, help with that search engine optimization. It's also a really good way to share things on social media for content that you've already created, because I often find that people are wondering what to post on their social media and what to share and how to get people back to their blog. So it may be something like you post, hey, what are the top 5 ways to, top 5 projects for your yard once the snow thaws. For more information, find me here at my blog, and you can link back to your blog, which gets people on your website thinking about properties and thinking about you as the area expert. So that was so much information in such a short time frame. I feel like you are all very quiet, which makes me very nervous that you are overwhelmed. So what questions do you have for me? We've got about 5 to 10 minutes left in our time together today, and I want to make sure that you are getting the information and able to use it, and that I can help you. Is there anything that you want to see again? How can I help you? If you're ready to dig in, I'm going to just hang out here for a few minutes on the line, waiting for you to type your questions. And if you don't have any questions, you can go ahead and head out on the webinar. I want to make sure that you do have a chance, though, to ask questions if you've got them. I also want to encourage you that you cannot break the system. There's no such thing as breaking the system. Get in, try it, see if you like it, see how it works. The more you use it, the easier it gets. And the only people who are not frustrated with technology are the people that aren't using it. The rest of us are frustrated from time to time. What I find works best for me when I'm frustrated is I just get up and I walk away for about 5 minutes, get up, stretch out, maybe make a phone call to a client, and then I get back into it. You're welcome, Rita. I wish that I could do more 30 minutes. I just sometimes feel like it's a lot of information in a short bite. So I'm trying to do our webinars on Monday, and then on Wednesday afternoon, we just do a quick 30 minutes. Here's what it is, dig in, and go back to work. Also, y'all, there is, I don't know if you're part of our Facebook group or not, but that's a great place if you want to reach us to ask questions about how to use the software. I'm going to just share what that page looks like real quick, as my Facebook has been just not liking me today. It's called Realistic Users. And look at that. I think my Facebook is broken today. It just must mean that I need to just talk to people face-to-face and webinar to webinar. Oh, there it is. Perfect. So this is the Facebook page. We'd love to have you ask questions. I do a lot of the answering of questions. I try to answer in video form so that you all can get information and see it. Sure, absolutely, Ellen, I can. Let's go over that one more time. Just so you all know, the question Ellen asked was, can we go through the e-marketing postcard and see how it goes out and make sure that I understand it? So we're going to walk through how that e-marketing part works again. I'm going to go back to my wrong IQ. And show you that. So when you're on your home screen, you go, Ellen, here to this marketing section, and you go to My Campaigns, and that opens up all your campaigns. Then you would select the campaign you wanted to add it to. So maybe it's something like this important dates campaign. You're doing an e-card out on the spring ahead. And you would go and you would add an event up in the upper right-hand corner. When you do that, it's going to open up the wizard and allow you to choose the content. So you can either build the content in here, but I really recommend building the content first and then attaching it. So let's just go here and we'll do a spring forward and say select. You're going to choose the date that it goes out. So it has to be a date in the future. So I could say, hey, I want this to go out on this day at this time, and you need to make sure the status is active, and then you click finish. When you click done, you'll exit back right to that screen, and you should be able to see the send on date as well as the subject that goes out and the status. The status needs to be set as active for the event and the campaign. So if I go to my important dates 2019, I can see that this campaign is active. So without looking, Ellen, my guess is that one of those statuses was set as inactive, and that's why it didn't go out. Does that make sense and answer your question? You should be able to set it, Ellen, you should be able to set it for that same day. Just make sure that you choose the time. So I always choose a time. So even when you get all those reminders about the webinars that are coming up, I do a lot of that and go in and edit. And I make sure that even if it's going out the same day, that I say, hey, this is the same day, but I want it to send out at 1 o'clock so that I know what time it's going out. Other questions? I can hang and talk. I know that we're over that 30-minute mark. So for those of you that have to go and be on with your day, I totally understand that. But I am more than willing to stay and answer questions if you've got them. Yeah, I'm glad that I could be helpful. We are here to help, and we want to see you be successful in your business. And so please, if you have questions, feel free to send them out in that Facebook group, or you could also send me a PM, and I'm more than happy to answer that way too. If you don't want to ask in a public forum, I'll answer you on Facebook. And I'll just say, hey, this is a question that was sent to me, and I'll let you know when that's posted. But I do want to make sure that you're all getting your answers and that you're able to get answers to your questions, because if you don't know how to use the software, it's of no help to you in your business. And it can do so much, and there's just a lot of information in there for everybody. All righty. If there are not any other questions, I want to be respectful of all your time, and we've been at this for about 30 minutes this afternoon. So I thank you all for joining me. I look forward to speaking with you next week. And we'll talk to you soon. If any of you are going to be in Vegas next week, let me know. I'll be there for the big Realogy conference. I'd love to meet you face to face. Well, yeah.